Hi, I'm Rob Johnson. I'm the owner and founder of 76 Additive. My background itself is in industrial design. My co-founder, his background was similar. So when we started our own company, 76 Projects, which was design of cycling accessories, we went straight to injection molding. We knew what to do, we knew how to tool things up. But after the first two products, we were nervous about putting down tens of thousands on tooling on a product we didn't know how successful it would be. So we started looking at 3D printing. We decided we would actually launch products that were 3D printed at the start using SLS and then in MJF. At that time we were making stuff, buying stuff in SLS, and we were spending a lot of money on it, and we wanted control of the process. That's when we decided that's what we'd start doing ourselves in-house. We were injection molding parts, and that was stuff we had to pay the 10,000 or so for tooling at the minimum order quantity, and we were kind of stuck with the parts we had. So we learned quite early on with customer feedback, right, we can't make those changes we wanted to make. So the products were successful, but we could have had better products. So when we came to launch our third, we looked heavily at could we actually use 3D printing as the final production technique. We've been using prototyping in FDM in-house, but we knew that wasn't up to the quality and the throughput we needed for the small, highly detailed parts we were making. So we then went to SLS, which then, as MJF was announced by HP, we started looking at that. And then after a short time of buying stuff in, we decided to commit to getting an MJF machine ourselves. 76 Additive was very much set up out of 76 Projects. The success of our own 3D printed parts, and then following on from that, the people we'd dealt with within the cycling industry who were so impressed by what we were producing that they asked us to produce for them. And then that moved on from people outside of the industry asking us. And I mean, what a common theme with our customers is they're either new to the market and they don't want to commit to the tooling, they haven't got the volume, or they don't want to risk to it, or perhaps they've got a product in a fast changing category where everything changes, so they need to keep ahead of the game. So they can keep iterating and changing their product instead of ordering 10,000 parts, having them sat on the shelf and having to pay for the inventory up front. These customers instead, they'll call off 100, 1,000 every month, and that changes the way they think, not just for their engineering or their procurement, but the way they think as a company. So we looked at a number of technologies back in 2019 when we first started looking at getting in-house printer. We were already using FDM in-house, but that wasn't suitable. The parts we're doing are quite small, and so the layer lines and the Z-axis strength were an issue, and it couldn't do the fine details. But we did look very closely at SLS, and we looked very closely at resin. There were a few resins who were claiming to do manufacturing, to do end-use components. We tested those in various things, heat tests, UV tests. The only two that passed those tests for our needs were SLS and MJF. And when it came down to it, MJF wins out because once you're producing at a high enough quantity, it's the most efficient way of producing end-use parts. I think we joined AMUK fairly early on, 3 years ago, and it was all like 3D printing or additive is a new industry, and it's so varied with all the different processes and all the different claims, and it comes on, sometimes feels like the Wild West. So being a member of an organisation who's responsible for promoting the good things about 3D printing seems like the right thing to do. So last year we were able to attend MAC, something we wouldn't have been able to do on our own. We attended MAC as the part of the AMUK area, which was really beneficial. We met loads of people we hadn't met before in a show that we wouldn't be able to normally exhibit at. I think it's important to have an organisation behind you. Like I've said before, when you've got a relatively new industry and there's lots going on, you need someone to represent you. So important thing, education. That's education to our end customers. That's all part of the standards as well. You know, simple things like, I don't know, insurance. Insurance actually can be quite challenging. You tell an insurance company you've got 3D printer, and you know, they think they've got the same printer as their nephew's got, that is a fire hazard or spits out fumes. They don't, you know, we've got a £500,000 printer and a £100 printer, and it's the same thing to the insurance industry. They literally, it's so hard to get them to insure it, especially when it's running overnight like it's supposed to. And other things like the environmental side of it. It's good for the environment, you don't waste, but there's processes, there's not systems where collectively with the manufacturers and the different users, there's a lot of waste that could be dealt with if it was pulled together. So yeah, I'd like to see, sort of, looking at the kind of collective issues that the industry and the operators have, and ways that we can work together to kind of solve those instead of everyone trying to do it individually.